Big Snoop Dogg. Be on the lookout for the new song featuring me.
Calvin Brodus, aka SNOOPDOGG, was born on October 20th, 1971, making him about 384 years old. It depends what size of dog we're talking here, but just know that he got his name from his early fascination of Snoopy from the Peanuts. Forget that, we're not doing that run-of-the-mill video documentary. We're doing a deep dive on the interesting phenomena of Snoop Dogg. He is one of, if not the most interesting anomalies in the music industry and honestly pop culture in general. Little celebrities have the same status and recognizability that he does. Only comparable names are maybe Oprah, The Rock, or Shaq. I dare you to find someone who doesn't know who he is. You either know him for his rap, his connection with weed, his football coaching, being the host and star of several TV shows, his Crip status, his theatrical roles, his culinary ambitions, his rough movie roles. He's one busy guy. I mean, he dips his toes in a little of everything. His impact is truly insane. I mean, even before this video, I've seen Reincarnated. I knew about his connection with Martha Stewart. I knew him as the actual inventor of these nuts, not this fraud. I knew him as the man who infamously rhymed tonsils in concerts, and the man who single-handedly got bootylicious in the Oxford English Dictionary. So you could say I've been a fan of Snoop, but you know what's enamored me forever, puzzled me for years, and it's been a slight obsession of mine, is Snoop's one-of-a-kind ability of featuring. You know, I've never quite understood how a single artist, a single man, a single person could appear on so many musical tracks over the past 3 decades of varying popularity, budget, and genre range and have it be talked about so little on the internet. If you don't know what a feature is, it's a common practice in the music industry, most commonly seen in the genres of rap, pop, and electronic music, where an artist of the same popularity or similar in status lays down a guest verse to a bass song to add a collaborative sort of feel. Snoop is notorious for featuring on hundreds and hundreds of songs. Hell, he got famous off a feature. If you know the song Deep Cover, a song by Dr. Dre when Snoop was first brought on the scene, it might bring back some Los Santos memories like it does me. Some websites have touched on this topic and tried to showcase their findings, as vague as they might be, but no one's really truly compiled his entire feature body of work. Numbers such as 385 features have been thrown around, but all those numbers online I can disprove. I'm talking potential world record breaking status here. I mean, the only artist to compete in the feature quantity category is C-grade rapper Cocaine, who has claimed to feature on 1,003 songs, even going as far to title his website themostfeaturedartist.com. So, with my fascination of Snoop's extensive feature body of work, the challenge presented to me by Cocaine, and my prior love of documenting the feature side of an artist's work, I knew I had to be the one to take on this gargantuan task. Now, before we delve into the art of the Snoop Dogg feature, let me touch on some of his non-feature music, his career highlights, and showcase his sheer range as an artist.
Is that a gun for modern warfare?
Covering Snoop's life and career in a video less than 10 hours would be impossible, so I'll do my best to give you a rundown of things to know. First, with the non-feature music. Besides his massive feature body of work, he has several songs and projects of his own. I can only speak with 100% certainty on some of these numbers. Legitimacy is always in question. His discography for sure includes 17 studio albums, 3 EPs, 4 soundtrack albums, 3 greatest hits compilations, 9 volumes in the Welcome to the Church mixtape series, 5 volumes in the That's My Work mixtape series, and several other legit related projects. Then it gets muddy. I mean, just know he has several Death Row releases, several albums, mixtapes, and compilations I put in the maybe category. Just know they're not worth discussing in detail. Anyway, let's start with his career from the beginning. His first album, Doggy Style, in 1993 is deemed by many, myself included, his best work. It pioneered the G-Funk gangster rap style established by Dre, and most people agree it's a classic. A lot of people say that he hasn't released a project or album better since. With that said, he's still been releasing music steadily since then, and the key takeaway point with those 17 studio albums I discussed is how transitional Snoop is. He has worn so many skins, taken on so many personas, and played so many roles during his time. Snoop isn't just prolific in music, but in everything he does. That's why he's so popular, is the different avenues that his career's branched off into over the years. He keeps his career alive by evolving and changing to the times. He's all about phases. He had the gangster gangbanging phase, he had the pimp phase, auto-tune pop star, stoner, Rastafarian, man of God. Snoop has dabbled in all sorts of genres. You've got rap, hip-hop, R&B, pop, reggae, funk, jazz, electronic, comedy, rock, metal, soul, country, gospel. Yeah, gospel. He's also known for being on many famous music labels, even starting his own Doggy Style Records and starting his own production company, Snoopadelic Films. I mean, anyone of any age knows him. He's easily one of the most recognizable humans ever. He's internationally known as well. He's done songs with artists from all over. He even starred in a Bollywood film. He appears in so many video games, so many cartoons. He's the face or mascot of several products. He's a dog kennel owner. He's a radio station starter. Yeah, 187.4 W Balls is real, actually. He's always keeping his name in the news. Maybe you've heard of one of his infamous beefs. First with the East Coast, then Suge Knight, Eazy-E, Trump, Iggy Azalea, 6ix9ine, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Whoa Vicky, to name a few. Let me rattle off a few interesting career highlights in hopes that one of them will ring a bell. You got WWE announcer, you got esports gaming league coordinator, TV burglar, yeah, he stole a plasma TV even with all the money he's got, owner and investor in several businesses, past felon. He's also the author of many books. He's the first artist to release a song as a ringtone before a single, owner of a Netflix ripoff, Trapflix. He has the same lawyer as OJ. He has his own line of pet products. He's a devoted vegan, sorta. He's a world record holder. I mean, he's a literal supposed genius. And he was a porn director for a time. Name another celebrity with all those accomplishments. The point is, there isn't much he hasn't done or tried. You've definitely heard of one of his sayings. I mean, you got faux shizzle, anything with an izzle really. You dig, suited and booted, sticky icky icky, slow motion with the potion trying to get to the ocean, more official than a referee with a whistle, you bitch you, chutch, shiznit. I mean, come on, one of those. Phew. With all that said, Snoop is beyond icon status. I just needed you to know those tidbits of Snoop's life, regardless how relevant they are, to give you a full scope. Now let's get into the real meat and potatoes, Snoop's lengthy feature catalog.
It's that difficult to play somebody online. What the fuck is you doing, Bill Gates? Fix your shit, man.
Like I always do, I made a spreadsheet. But this time, I aim to be the first ever to document Snoop's feature catalog in detail. It's broken up into categories of where the song currently is: Spotify, YouTube, and other. The fourth category is a secret for later. In the description, I will link the Spreadsheet, Spotify, and YouTube playlist created. Making these was beyond tedious. I mean, the sheer amount of cross-referencing necessary would turn off most people of attempting the challenge and documenting the hundreds I did. Let me make this clear early, it's nearly impossible to claim I have found every single Snoop Dogg feature in existence. This fact honestly kept me up at night, added so much anxiety to this video, because for these challenges I like to know I've gotten every single one, and I just have to accept I've missed some, but I've gotten the large majority of them. Even during the 6 to 7 months this video took me to make, several new Snoop Dogg features have been released. I mean, the hustle was real. I just wanted to make sure I used every available resource on the internet in order to claim I've listened to most of them. First, starting with Wikipedia. Wikipedia's As Featured Artist and Guest Appearances category served as a great beginning resource with so many entries, and Spotify's Appears On category was another big one. I believe he honestly maxed out the category, no joke. The other sources were the category of Apple Music's Appears On category, Deezer's Featured In, Tidal's Lengthy Appears On, Napster's Other category, which up to this point I didn't even know it still existed. You pay now, but I also checked out the barren wasteland of MySpace because of their emphasis on music, but nothing there. There were grindier resources like the 12 years of Snoop Dogg YouTube videos, which produced some classics, and 12 years of SoundCloud posts, which didn't produce much except for some long streams of Snoop attempting beat production. The hardest resource by far to tackle was the 2000 entry-long Discogs featuring and presenting tab, which produced so many new obscure finds. I didn't even tackle the 4000 entry-long guest appearance category, so feel free, but it's mostly duplicates. There was other sources that I checked up and down, but they were rather uneventful. You got iHeartRadio, Shazam, Pandora, Google Play Music, Amazon Music, Last.fm, Vimeo, Jenga, and weirdly TikTok. The songs used for TikToks are documented on the app, but nothing really there. One of the more difficult tasks that I also did was typing in feat Snoop Dogg in each one of the search bars of all those resources in an attempt to find any late stragglers, which I did, but it was a true struggle because the page is refreshing all the time because of the insane amount of search results. That was just as hard, if not harder. Other notable sources are sites such as Jacksta and AllMusic, which really emphasize the credits behind the music, and I looked under Snoop's record label and all its subsidiaries and found some collabs here and there. Lastly, I skimmed through Snoop's entire social media post history. I looked through 47,000 Instagram posts, 41,000 tweets, 16 years of Facebook posts, and honestly there wasn't much on there but a bunch of boomer memes. And I even tried to look into his Google Plus, which I didn't know was defunct because he was one of the biggest accounts on there. All those resources combined account for all the content found and displayed in my spreadsheet detailing every Snoop Dogg feature.
What you need to do, nigga, is go get me my chips with dip. Cause you delinquent.
Here we are, the art of the feature. Questions such as, what is a feature? How to tell you found one? What to expect? What trends are present? And what are possible motives for so many will be answered. I need to preface, if not already clear, that this video is more about the journey of finding all the Snoop Dogg features, observing trends, surprises, and interesting occurrences. Less about actually listening to them, because in my opinion, it's just more effective to listen to them yourself.
What are you doing?
To get to the core of what a feature is, it's a relatively new concept in terms of music history, most common in the genres of rap, pop, and electronic, where two artists that aren't officially in a band or group team up on a song together. The featured artist is brought onto the song to add an element that wasn't already there. Each artist on the song gets their own time in the spotlight, but the featured artist normally appears in the last third, fourth of the song as a third act closer, sort of. It's always assumed there's a lead and guest artist. I refer to the lead artist a lot as the bass artist. The bass artist sets up the topic, style, and format, and the guest artist replicates that, but also adding their own flair. The whole point is so each artist can mutually benefit. It's good exposure for both parties and allows the audience to potentially check out each artist's solo work. Know that the artists are normally of the same popularity and genre, but that's where Snoop comes in. The thing is with Snoop, when he started out, he was big automatically, but he's been featuring on a range of popularity of songs. The case normally with rap is you're always trying to get your rep up, and a big way of doing that is featuring on bigger and bigger songs. It's crucial for up-and-comers. You see artists like Kendrick Lamar, who featured on bigger and bigger songs and became a larger artist partially because of it. With Snoop, he had Doggy Style and his works with Dre, his best work, so he doesn't need to feature as much as he does. Like I mentioned earlier, no one's touching on Snoop's weird feature practices online. There was an article I read by Joe Bagel who slightly touched on it by coining the phrase the Snoop Dogg, describing what it's like to have Snoop on your song. The Snoop Dogg is a mutually beneficial marketing strategy in which a small dog and a big dog team up for a small-scale collaborative project. I believe the phrase does a good job showing that having Snoop on your song is just a really good marketing strat. His namesake is worth a lot, and that's why he's such a prolific featured artist, because the coveted Snoop Dogg feature is always in demand and never goes out of style, and it's attainable for a price, which brings me to my next point. Having Snoop on a song isn't free, and what I gathered from online is it's around $40,000 to $50,000 to have him on your song. Now, whether you deem it worth it or not, a lot of smaller artists see that as a ticket to success.
Honey, to the
Snoop Dogg.
folks come in there!
With some of these unheard of artists that Snoop has worked with, they seemingly spend their entire album budget on the one Snoop feature, putting all their eggs in one basket, hoping that that small Snoop connection will get them the stardom they desire. The Snoop Dogg namesake dick riding is overly apparent when looking at these 1,200 plus features. I feel like these smaller artists don't understand how it's relatively easy to get Snoop on your song. Like I said before, the range of popularity of these tracks, my God. The biggest point I'm trying to hit here is the range, diversity, and consistency of the songs and artists Snoop has worked with. He's a part of a ton of hits, Ton of household names, some true bangers, ones I even forgot he was on, but you never hear about the lesser known side of his feature catalog. Snoop can be on a song with an artist with millions and millions of monthly listeners, but in the same time span, be on a song with an artist with a few thousand monthly listeners, maybe a couple hundred, 50, 10 monthly listeners or less at times. Some of these don't even appear to be real, but the verses are unique to the tracks. These artists and Snoop don't know each other a bunch and they don't have a big history. I just assume they want his voice on a song. He sends them out in mass, no face-to-face, just his studio to theirs. Some make the claim that Snoop is the biggest sellout in music. And trust me, there's a lot of evidence to support that. But if you really think about it, he's never been whack. He's always been himself, and he's always maintained that Dogfather status on the rap game. That's not to say he's proud of every song he's done. I mean, some of these songs he's never promoted. It almost seems like he's cut ties with the artist, maybe because of embarrassment, but the whole popularity scale of artists is interesting nonetheless. Snoop honestly engages in similar practices himself. I mean, on his own tracks, he'll have artists featuring that are way less popular than him in hopes of getting them exposure, and he also has a long list of impressive features. I mean, only Snoop could really pull this roster. Just know, Snoop is the featuring GOAT. I mean, maybe Cocaine, maybe another artist is more prolific than him, but none do it better. Whether it's featuring, guest appearing, or a cameo, he's the king of recognizability. Now, on how to tell you found one. Determining the legitimacy of a Snoop feature isn't as easy as you think. You want to go with the obvious first, the wording. The biggest indicator of a feature, of course, is the word featuring, or its abbreviated form, feat. Occasionally you'll see words like co-starring Snoop, or co-sign, guest appearance, Snoop Dogg remix. Honestly, the word and Snoop Dogg all indicate the same thing. Some of the trickier to find ones are what I call an unlisted feature, where there's a guest verse but no feature tag. Reasons behind not listing it could be the way it was inputted into the streaming platform, it's deemed more additional vocals and not really a feature, or maybe the artist just prefers the clean track list look. There's probably a variety of reasons why the feature tag isn't listed. I probably missed some of those too. I mean, if Snoop's not in the title, then search results aren't going to pick it up. But at the end of the day, everyone really knows Snoop's voice, so maybe the artist didn't deem it necessary to indicate such an obvious verse. Rapper Vince Staples brought up a relevant, interesting point where the feature tag can sometimes take away from the title of the song. It can just distract and detract. The emphasis should be on the title and topic of the song. To those artists who don't like the clutter of the feature label on each one of their songs, it is sort of fun to play a game of name that artist when you hear an additional voice in the track and it's not listed. I mean, despite the meme, everyone remembers when they first heard Drake on Sicko Mode. It was way more fun than knowing it going in. Having the guest tag on there or not shows how the track listing is also customizable like the album artwork. Some artists really care about the capitalization of some songs here and there, but in my opinion, I think the feature tag is crucial to reel people in for listens. A notable story relating to features is in 2019, rapper Trippie Redd had a Playboi Carti feature on his album, and a couple days after release, he just removed the song. People don't know exactly why, but they think most of the people were there just for the Carti feature, so maybe it's possible there's a thing as a too powerful of a feature. From a Spotify user's perspective, you always want to look for the light gray feature label, or in parentheses, that's the normal ones. You'll see strange cases such as the double feature on Stress Away, or the giant lumped together names on Spotify, or the long list of names which order sort of indicates whose song it is, but it's a constant toss-up. A strong point I need to make is some of these songs that count as a feature and that are on my spreadsheet at surface level appear more to be a duet. Take the song Crippin' for Life, for example, by Dave East, where a smaller artist, Dave East, is accompanied by Snoop Dogg, where the feature's pretty much just implied. There's a lot of those. Maybe some of them are a little loose calls, but I counted them. There were a lot of internal debates going on in my head. I was constantly asking the question, whose song is it? Take soundtrack songs, for example. The TV show, movie, or video game is pretty much the base artist, and the listed artists are the ones featuring. Maybe it's debatable, but I just had to make the hard calls. So here's the 6 steps I took when trying to determine whether I found a Snoop Dogg feature or not. First, do I recognize the song? Second, what does Siri say when I use her Shazam ability? Third, what does my spreadsheet say? Fourth, is there a music video connected? 5, are the affiliated names similar? And 6, are there any news articles or social media posts about it? If it passed those tests, I think you got a winner. That strategy should really clear any doubt, and it's applicable to any of those harder to tell features. It's just important to note that some of these songs are so unknown you question if they're real. Now, onto what to expect in a Snoop feature.
Wait, it's your...
Yeah, rapper, producer, entrepreneur, Snoop D-O-double-G.
When thinking what to expect when you throw on your first Snoop Dogg feature, here's a breakdown of the typical composition you'll hear on a Snoop feature. First, you gotta break down his style. There isn't a huge variety of Snoop features. He brings nearly the same laid-back, swagger-infused flow to most of his songs, and just know that he forces a lot of rhymes by replacing izzle at the end of most words. Alongside with his generally slow rapping, Snoop accompanies it with what I like to call airy ad-libs. Every artist has their own style of ad-libs. Snoop's is this really breathy backing vocal that adds a really unique effect once paired with the verse.
If it ain't chronic, don't blaze it up. And if it ain't a Chevy, don't raise it up.
When it comes to lyrical topics, Snoop will totally disregard the greater message of the song and just do his own thing almost every time. He normally touches on the same topics of weed, women, money, rap status, sex, and too much detail sometimes, basketball, California, Long Beach, did I say weed, being a Crip, alcohol, partying, crime, overall struggles as a rapper, and oh yeah, weed. The typical title for a Snoop feature is similar to those topics, but sometimes you'll see some funny ones, and occasionally you'll see several Snoop features with the same name. I mean, you know you feature way too much when that's the case. Like I said, women is a big topic for Snoop to rap about, and he's one of the few rappers that I know that's been married for quite a long time, so I just always question if his wife's cool with what he talks about. I mean, I don't know, but...
How do you feel about that concept, black men don't cheat?
It's cool.
Anyway, that's not the only hypocrisy you'll come across. Snoop constantly contradicts with previously said statements in the past, and he'll jump on songs with very questionable artists. I'm not bashing it, it just really contradicts his hardcore gangster image. Just know Snoop's effort varies depending on what song it is. Sometimes he has a verse, sometimes it's just the chorus, maybe an interlude or skit, an intro or outro, maybe 2 words at the beginning, 2 words at the end. Maybe he'll name drop the artist. Maybe he'll give you a what up cut or a what up nephew. I mean, the fact that he gets credited for some of these contributions is surprising. A quote I found online does a good job at explaining this phenomenon. The featured artist credit has become a little bit like a supporting actor or actress Oscar. Sometimes the winner really had something closer to a leading role, and sometimes the part is not much more than a drive-by. When it comes to beat selection for the 1,200 plus songs, just know that the more recognizable the song is, typically the higher budget sounding, maybe there's a big producer tag associated, a more professional feel, and the lesser known the song is the staler the sound, the cheaper sounding, really flat production overall. Other common composition components are G-funk elements being interlaced into the mix once Snoop's added to the song. Sometimes they'll add high-pitched synths, vibra slap, talk box, funk samples, fat bass, and sometimes Snoop will even contour his voice to the song if he's playing a persona like Sir Dog. I mean, it all depends what phase he's in. Lastly, if you listen to Snoop a lot, you'll notice how he's a big speller. He loves going letter by letter when spelling out words. Anyway, that should give you a good grip on what the typical Snoop Dogg feature is comprised of. Now onto trends that are present.
I had to come sit in my car and listen to this man. Let it go.
Trends. Every artist has them, and Snoop's no exception. A large reason I made this video was to analyze them and pick out the interesting ones. First, let's start with the frequency at which Snoop works with certain artists. There's a handful of artists that Snoop has done several songs with, and it's not too uncommon to see several Snoop features on one album. There's albums such as The Chronic, Dog Food, both East Side his albums, MP The Last Don, and Please Believe It, that are filled with Snoop features. Those groups are some of the artists Snoop is closest with. It's a common misconception that he's actually a member of some of those groups, but it's not the case. Other groups such as LBC Crew and Ladies from Long Beach are other groups where Snoop's more of a mentor, not a member. The only group Snoop's an actual confirmed member is 213, QDT, 7 Days of Funk, and the Brodus Boys. Now let's rapid fire some trends that are present among the 1,200 plus features. First, you have the G mix. It's a remix that's released after the initial release of the song, where several OG rappers are added as featuring artists. there's also an old school sound, and typically Snoop is one of those G's added. Next, you have the rap cipher feature, where an artist attempts to recreate the feeling of a rap cipher by having a long list of artists who all spit a few bars trying to one-up each other, similar to a freestyle cipher performance. Another big one you'll see is clean versus explicit songs. It's commonplace in rap and pop, big in the 2000s, where the explicit version is the normal raw version of a song and the clean is the censored version. I came across some weird ones like the super clean version or the no rap version, which the feature is retracted almost. That ties into the trend a lot you'll see with Snoop's tracks, where there's actual expletives in the title of the songs. I've always thought this is a dumb way to just quickly lose a portion of the audience, but you'll see that a lot when looking at the 1200 plus. Some smaller trends you'll run into is when Snoop is the sole vocalist on a DJ producer electronic song, leaving you questioning ultimately whose song is it. Another trend is the bakery intros you'll see in a lot of Snoop videos. Cringe as hell. And another trend is when Snoop works with smaller artists, a lot of times they like to replicate his iconic lines, flow, and style in a playful way. It's just cool to see how versed younger artists are in Snoop's old work. Some other things you'll see is when Snoop collaborates with an artist, that artist will never not throw that song in their greatest hits. It's pretty much a given. Also, you'll see when Snoop's on these mixtape teaser songs where DJs will incessantly yell over the track in order for you to just buy the mixtape instead. Another thing you'll see a lot is download this song for free at YouTubepromo.com. I mean, it screamed LimeWire, Napster vibes. It was cracking me up every time I ran into it. And lastly, occasionally, it's funny because you'll see Snoop feature on his own bodies of work. Depends what source you're at, but it's funny nonetheless. That quickly covers some of the most interesting trends. Now on to possible reasons why.
I'm in Hungary right now. I'm trying to find an iPad 2. Any one of my fans that bring an iPad 2.
A question you have to be asking yourself is, why does Snoop feature as much as he does? I guarantee most people immediately assume money, money, money. But I don't think it's that simple. I don't know for sure, but I have some decent theories. First, with why does he work with super small artists? With an estimated net worth of $120 to $160 million, countless brand deals and companies he owns, why work with the no-namers? I really think it's just to give these smaller artists exposure. Simple as that. He seems like a really nice, solid guy and someone who would do something like that. It's actually pretty common to see Snoop promote music he's not even in so his large audience can check it out. It's likely those promoted artists paid him to do that, but you just don't see a rapper put on as many colleagues as him. Another possible reason is he's trying to stretch out his career as long as possible, milk his image for all that it's got, and just stay on everyone's mind by constantly revitalizing your career with a new feature all the time. Maybe it's for worldwide recognition. He has to be one of the most well-known around-the-world artists because of the range of ethnic artists that he's worked with. Hell, he tours all over the world. Another possible theory is maybe he does it as a favor he owes someone. It'd be a hell of a lot of favors, but sometimes features aren't about a money transaction. Sometimes artists will feature on each other's work with no payment. A possibility is Snoop's trying to make as many connections in the industry as possible, have his hand in a little of everything, focus on quantity over quality, and have his name plastered on every billboard, screen, and potential hit song. Hell, maybe he doesn't view it as a feature with a label, maybe instead as a collaborative project, a newly established relationship. Perhaps he's trying to expand his creativity and never settle on a sound. Maybe he's just trying to relive his youth by getting that first hit song. Maybe he's just bored and trying to fill the time. The point is, I don't know. It really ties in what I call the uncle-nephew concept. A lot of people know Snoop as Uncle Snoop, and he refers to the people he works with as his nephews. It really shows how he's this mentor, dad figure, godfather status, and he just helps these other smaller artists in the industry. It's not that I don't think his feature catalog is impressive, I just don't back the concept behind it. I believe in selective featuring, which is artists like Frank Ocean, Andre 3000, J. Cole, Kendrick, where they'll only hop on very few songs that fit their same sort of status and vibe. It adds a certain aura to the music, it really enriches it more. With Snoop's really high feature number, I start to slowly lose respect. I just don't prefer just jumping on anyone's song. I like to envision that he has one of those possible positive motives that I discussed, and not the sadly likely money.
it didn't bother me. That's why you see me on so many songs with so many different artists, because it's never competition. It's complimentary.
Any song Snoop jumps on is usually a great fucking record. Man.
And Stylebender as he's getting ready.
Okay, here's a comprehensive list I made of all the need-to-know names to showcase the range of Snoop. First, here's a list of the rap groups that he's worked with. You've got UGK, Run the Jewels, which he just meows on the track, Insane Clown Posse, ICP, Gangstar, Bone Thugs and Harmony, and he did solo work with Crazy, Lazy, and Busy Bone, and Big Kaz, Cringe God, The Roots, Salt and Peppa, Flatbush Zombies, Clips, which is Pusha T and his brother if you didn't know, Outkast, Mobb Deep, NWA, which unknown to me, he was technically a member, De La Soul, Souls of Mischief, Migos, The Dog Pound, The East Siders. He's also done some work with the Wu-Tang Clan. He did this really unique verse alongside Old Dirty Bastard when he was talking through a prison phone. It was pretty cool. He also did some solo work with Ghostface Killah, Method Man, and Raekwon the Chef. Here's a list of the impressive older rappers that he's worked with. He got Tupac, Dr. Dre, Ice Cube, Cool G Rap, Eminem, Exhibit, Nate Dogg, his actual cousin, Devin the Dude, Daz Dillinger, Busta Rhymes, Corrupt, The Game, 50 Cent, Scarface, The Notorious B.I.G., Ludacris, Big Boy, Andre 3000, Lil Wayne, Too Short, which I thought they were best friends, but then he's on this album, so I don't know their relationship. Lil Jon, Rick Ross, Jay-Z, Redman, Mace, T-Pain, MC Ren, LL Cool J, Be Real, and a song with his potential alter ego Be Legit, Young Jeezy, Badass, Jadakiss, Nas, Slick Rick, Coolio, Talib Kweli, Chuck D, DMX, Fabulous, T.I., Tech9, Twista, Fat Joe, E40 with that weird ass voice and flow, P. Diddy, Q-Tip, Kanye West, Juicy J, The DOC, Bushwick Bill, Warren G, Dr. Dre's cousin, Birdman, Ice-T, Big Pun, Wyclef Jean, Cameron, Rakim, Rev Run, KRS-One, Bun B, CeeLo Green, and Prodigy. Now, here's a list of the newer rappers that Snoop has worked with. You got Ty Dolla $ign, you got Wiz Khalifa, who did the iconic Cringe anthem with Snoop, No Social Media. Classic. NBA Youngboy, Tory Lanez, Currency, Tyga, Big Sean, Anderson .Paak, Chris Brown, 2 Chainz, Russ, Bow Wow, Takeoff, Drum, Kendrick Lamar, French Montana, Young Thug, Lil Durk, Dave East, B.O.B., ASAP Ferg and Rocky, Mac Miller, Young Dolph, Lupe Fiasco, Meek Mill, Future, Nelly, Riff Raff, Fetty Wap, Gucci Mane, YG, Nipsey Hussle, J-Rock, Royce da 5'9", G-Eazy, Lil Dicky, which he had 2 super unique songs with. One where he played this rap mentor, and the other one where he played a marijuana plant. Soulja Boy, Pusha T, Freddie Gibbs, Blueface, Machine Gun Kelly, and Kid Cudi. Like I said, Snoop's been on some big labels, and one of those was No Limit Records, which he did songs with so many of those artists. You got Silk the Shocker, Mystical, Master P, C Murder, Magic, Fiend, Cain and Abel, 504 Boys, Mac, Gambino Family, Mia X, Skullduggery, Steady Mobbin, TRU, Soulja Slim, Lil Italy, Moby Dick, Full Blooded, Big Ed, Mr. Servon, and Prime Suspects. He also did quite a few songs with female rappers. A few notable ones are Lil Kim, Eve, Remy Ma, Missy Elliott, Tiffany Fox, Rod Digga, and Just Britney. Like I said, with him dabbling in the metal genre, he's worked with Anchored, Limp Bizkit, Methods of Mayhem, which is Tommy Lee's side band, Point Defiance, and Stained. Snoop is featured with a variety of bands too, such as The Gorillaz, Black Eyed Peas, which the song is Black Eyed Peas featuring The World, and Snoop's within The World. There's Bad Bad Not Good, The Gap Band, which has this member Charlie Wilson, which he's featured a lot with, The Neptunes, which is one of Pharrell's groups, The Clark Sisters, In Vogue, Pussycat Dolls, Far East Movement, TLC, Isley Brothers, Boyz II Men, Zapp, Lucy Pearl, which is a hip-hop supergroup, and amongst many others that I'll list here. One of the most insane lists I compiled is the country of origin or ethnicity of artists that Snoop has worked with. Listen to this range. You've got Puerto Rican, Vietnamese, Mexican, Portuguese, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Swedish, Russian, Tanzanian, Norwegian, Canadian, Brazilian, Indian, French, Jamaican, Pakistani, Chinese, Polish, Nigerian, Japanese, Turkish, German, Armenian, Egyptian, Belgian, Danish, Greek, Italian, Dutch, Dominican, Panamanian, Filipino, Colombian, British, Iranian, Israeli, Ukrainian, and an artist from Azerbaijan, an Azerbaijani artist. That's insane!
So it's like I got a song in Brazil, a song in Korea. Like I'm about trying to make music that touches people that want to be touched by the sound of Snoop Dogg.
He's worked with his fair share of musical athletes as well. You've got the WWE wrestler Sasha Banks, his cousin Martellus Bennett, DeMarcus Ware, Ronaldo Gaucho, and Deshaun Jackson. He's done several songs with comedy groups. You got The Lonely Island, which is the SNL group with Andy Samberg. You got Lil Duval, Andrew Dice Clay, Cat Williams, Eddie Murphy, Mike Epps, to name a few. Snoop's also worked with a lot of famous producers and DJs over the years. You got Steve Aoki, Jay Dilla, Calvin Harris, Boys Noise, Afrojack, Kid Capri, High Tech, DJ Khaled, Clue, Drama, Battlecat, Getta, and Quick, Grandmaster Flash, Funkmaster Flex, The Alchemist, Swizz Beatz, K-Tronada, Static Selecta, Fred Wreck, and Ninth Wonder. Then I've compiled a list of notable artists that he's worked with. You just have to discuss these. He's done songs with Travis Barker, the Blink-182 drummer, Mariah Carey, George Clinton, the Funkadelic Parliament leader, John Legend, Jason Derulo, Pharrell Williams, Jane Aiko, Kendrick-affiliated artists like Robert Glasper Experiment, the pianist, Thundercat, the bassist, Terrace Martin and Kamasi Washington, the saxist, Gary Clark Jr., the famous guitarist, Quincy Jones, the producer, Morris Day at the Time, Justin Timberlake, Robin Thicke, Kid Rock, Akon, Alicia Keys, Solange, Beyonce's sister, if you didn't know, Darius Rucker, the country singer, Hootie and the Blowfish frontman, Ray J, which is also his cousin, and he featured on Ray J's visual album. Thought it was interesting. Faith Evans, Brad Paisley, which he only did 2 words for Brad on his song. You got Frank Ocean, Willie Nelson, which is the only person known to outsmoke Snoop. Also, he featured alongside Chris Christopherson on that song. It's really insane. Jamie Foxx during his less known musical career, R. Kelly, and the 15-year-old he married, Aliyah, which she had her own career, but it's just interesting he's featured with both. You got Rihanna, Rick James, Katy Perry, Bootsy Collins, Fergie, and will.i.am. I mean, that roster's insane. Then you've got all the weird Snoop features, like the unexplainable ones. You got a song with Charlie Sheen, Tiffany Haddish, the actress, Lil Bub, who I thought was a rapper, but it's a literal cat he featured alongside. He did a song on Corey Feldman's Angelic to the Core, the infamous Awful album. I mean, get this fact. He's on the #1 worst album of the 2010s, and he's featured on the #1 best album of the 2010s, according to the Needle Drop. That's like the most insane fact ever. Anyway, he has a song with Will Smith. He has a song with, get this lineup, Snoop, Sting, Chris Martin, Bono, Slash, and Elton John. And Bruno. I mean, it was at the end of the movie, Bruno in the credits, but the lineup is crazy nonetheless. He did a song with Psy, the artist of Gangnam Style. There's an artist named Riles, which he played a pitch down God persona. Artist with Duro Music, which is the ice cream paint job guy. You got Murs from Hip Hop DX, Anna Kendrick from Pitch Perfect, Big Time Rush, Chanel West Coast. Roll the clip.
Mind you, I did a song with Snoop Dogg after getting into a verbal argument with him because he respected me so much after I spoke my mind to him. He still came back and did a song with me. Why are you talking with your hands, though?
Epic Rap Battles History, where he played Moses against Santa rapping. He did a song with Ricky Dillon, the YouTuber. He did a song with Lindsay Lohan, Afro Man, Colt 45 2 Zigzags guy. He did a song with Bad Baby. He hates Wo Vicky, but he'll do a song with the Catch Me Outside girl. I mean, proves my earlier point. I mean, Dr. Alan Varnado Lang and Pastor Troy, a literal doctor and a pastor, he did a song with. He didn't do a song with 21 Savage, but he did a song with 52 Savage. Real artist, real collab. His kids, that's Corey B and Corday 77. And lastly, he did 2 brand features. He did one with the brand Just Eat and ESPN. And lastly, some of the really bizarre features, I just call the after death features. He does a song with Sublime, Johnny Cash, and The Doors, where he acts like he's interacting with them on the track. It's really cool.
Have you ever thought about that, like having some acapellas from somebody old school like that, and you really putting some music to it?
Give me Pac, Biggie, and Michael Jackson and Bob. I'm gonna show you an anthem.
But anyway, I'm going to throw some on-screen honorable mentions, a lot of rap honorable mentions, and a lot of just other notable artists that, or any ones that I forgot that I need to add later. But just look at this roster. I mean, Snoop's range is in no doubt the greatest of any artist.
Knives in silly clubs, holes in fake thugs.
I already listed where I found the Snoop features, but some might ask how I can claim I found the large majority. I'm telling you right now, it's not easy. It started with which Snoop aliases are worth investigating. I think he has more than any person ever. Of course there's Snoop Dogg, then there's just Snoop, then there's Snoop Doggy Dogg, Snoop D-O-double-G, Big Snoop Dogg, Uncle Snoop, the Dog Father, the Big Boss Dog, Coach Snoop, the D-O-Dub, Fairy Dog Mother, Papa Snoop, Snoop Rock. Hell, there's a ton. Sometimes he just goes by his real name, Calvin. Occasionally, he'll put a twist on his name like Snoopy Pryor or Snoopy Collins or Snoop Scorsese during his brief porn stint. Everyone knows about Snoop Lion, his temporary reggae phase, but do you know about Funky Snoopzilla? What about DJ Snoopadelic? What about producer... Not saying that one. But what about Smooth Dogg with Carlana or Nemo Hose on GGN? What about Scoop Dogg, his planned future name when he becomes an ice cream worker after he retires? Yeah, that's legit, but all these names made it really difficult, and there was just so many of them, but the feature on Discogs where they funnel all the aliases into one name made it really easy to research. You also gotta watch out for Snoop Dogg knockoffs, people trying to bank off a similar name. You got Snort Dogg, Swamp Dogg, Smoke Dogg, Skip Dogg, Snoop Dawes, Snap Dogg, which he did a song with, and sometimes just Snoop, which is a different artist on Spotify. Totally a fraud though. Name variants were a huge inhibitor, but challenge number 2 was just overall accuracy. The whole time I was battling duplicates, name changes and differences, misspellings, remix confusion. They were all a pain, but Siri, like I said before, brought a lot of clarity with her just telling me the origin of the song. There were so many obstacles to overcome. You got songs being removed off of YouTube, Shazam switching up covers, Apple Music's confusing rarities, Napster swapping artists, SoundCloud crashing all the time, and Discogs heart attack inducing length. Then you got brands, products, and podcast advertising featuring Snoop, which added a layer. Hell, I would spend hours researching a song that was just a mistitled studio album Snoop song. But nothing would compare to the third challenge, Spotify. Like I said before, Spotify played a quintessential role in the making of this video. I found hundreds of songs on there, but it was a pain. There are so many difficulties like faded out songs, songs being removed, those annoying generic summer rap nostalgic compilations you see all over the place. I actually believe I discovered a never before talked about feature in Spotify in the appears on category, which I was primarily in, where it automatically filters out features from an artist with less than 2,000 monthly listeners, especially on big artist pages. I found this to be the case several times with songs that are on the platform but not in the section. I think it's implemented so artists just don't throw a big name on their song and are at the top of the chart and get a bunch of exposure that way. And like I said, with Snoop featuring with these tiny artists, that feature hid a lot of these gems. And I even accomplished an old goal of mine of being the sole monthly listener on an artist. I never thought I'd pull it off, but I did it. It's right here. And with the category's massive length and the constant refreshing, I had to do a 5-hour grind session where I just added every song I thought was a feature to a playlist and filtered it out later. And that timing couldn't have been better with the 2 disastrous updates that got released shortly after. Spotify first hit us with an update where the appears on category is arranged by popularity instead of by date. Popularity is not a set in stone way to organize. Songs shift around that way. You never know what's newly released. Some of these small songs, a single play will shift them up 100 blocks. So I went to the forums to complain. On there, people agreed with me that it was an unneeded change. No one was a fan of it. Then they doubled down. They removed the appears on category. Like, for what reason would they do that? No one wanted that. It was maybe to clear up space, declutter the interface, I don't know. Regardless, it was a unanimously disliked change, and I just believe it's a crucial aspect to Spotify. Eventually they brought it back, but it's still organized by popularity. The point is, the making of this video couldn't have been timed worse, honestly. At the end of the day, my process throughout was truly an adventure. Just scrolling through the social media alone was a nightmare. I mean, check out my auto-scrolling setup I had just to get a glimpse of my madness. Overall, a lot of the stuff I found I can't 100% claim is legit. I just had to make some executive calls and use my best judgment at the end of the day.
I got a lot to lose, but I lost all my moves. Ever since she fucked that nigga that's older than Snoop, but I can't blame her.
You can't go without mentioning the album art. I accounted for roughly 1,100 different covers. And for every clean, sleek, professional cover you recognize, there's 5 to 10 trash, god-awful, unrecognizable ones. I started forming a strong mental database of all these covers when scrolling through thousands of album covers, trying to find new entries amongst all the tricky false alarms, especially those typical rap tour concert posters. Those always tripped me up. All album artwork that I've seen is ingrained in my brain. I'm a huge album art guy, and I think if the music's good and the cover's good, they complement each other. First off, here's some examples of the more recognizable, less interesting rap pop hits You've seen these on the charts, they're admirable, but it's really nothing new here. Note sometimes a song is released as a single before on an album, so sometimes there's two covers, but I choose the more interesting of the two. And a lot of these covers I've seen before previously, and I dig the vibe and aesthetic a lot of them give off. They say serious, high quality, and professional before you even listen to the song. During Snoop's stay at No Limit produced some of the coolest covers yet, like this one behind me right here. They all appear crazy at first glance, but they all follow this insane, crudely thrown together scrapbook style format with crazy fonts and ludicrous visuals that I just think is so dope. I love these. Also, if you know Snoop, you'll recognize Daryl Daniels' dog imagery throughout. It's especially common in his studio albums, but it's really big for his image. It's sort of a mascot, which he literally has one of, and the artwork from Daryl is just very inspirational to a lot of other covers. With that comes other cartoon interpretations of Snoop, some good, some horrible. Here's a compilation of the animated Snoops on the feature covers. Quality varies, but I enjoy the different takes, music or not, except Lil Mama though. That's a rough looking Snoop. Another art trend is the showcasing of feet or featuring Snoop on an album cover as sort of proof of his existence on the song. Sometimes it's super blatant, other times it's pretty subtle. It's just crazy how common of a trend that is. You also see a lot of what I call Google image artwork theft, where you'll see a picture of Snoop that doesn't look right, the image was definitely snagged online, his pose is all off, and he just looks two-dimensional next to the artist. This is an epidemic in the Snoop covers. Anyone with internet access can obtain these photos, and the artwork loses integrity, originality, and graphical appeal that way. The classic Snoop hoodie pic, you'll never see any pic more than that, trust me. The desperate need of proving to be with Snoop is never ending. Artists will take a selfie with Snoop and use it as the album cover or set their collaboration as their Spotify profile picture or banner. I mean, they'll milk a Snoop collab for all that it's got. Other cover commonalities include Doggy Style record stamps being right on the front of a lot of these covers as a forced product placement. You got mixtape era CD covers that just scream trapaholics. Custom parent advisory stickers. Oh, and my favorite, uncut Snoop Dogg approved record frames, which he puts on Snoop verified albums, but he has one on his own studio album. Like, it makes no sense. Of course he approves his own album. You gotta bring to light the yikes ones, the crude ones, the awful graphic design, the trash Photoshop, the cringy boys, the questionable ones, the ones where you see the cover and you're like, is Snoop on that song? I mean, some real atrocities here. I've compiled a few more here. We got the Pixel Snoop alongside the Creeper. Guaranteed didn't get the license for that one. You got the title missing a G. You got CGI Snoop. You got the Ricardo collab, the Lil Wayne guitar meme. I mean, you got some pleasant covers like Suicide Tour, a literal hanging body. Or what about this severed, chopped off head? That's a great cover. Then there's some that had me weak. The song Running by Main's cover looks like an accidental camera roll upload, similar to 30% of Snoop's social media uploads. And then there's a couple sharing an intimate moment in the pool. I mean, that screams Snoop collaboration to me. I don't know about you. And throughout scouring all the covers, I had to pick a number one worst one. And I think I settled on Cholo Skate by Down aka Kilo. I mean, the Move pulled up in a shoe. That's art. I don't know about you. It's an understatement saying these 1,000+ covers aren't worth diving into. So many gems, but so many duds.
What up, this Snoop Dogg. I need to get a deal with Proactive. I got a big ass bump on my face. Proactive, where you at? I need to deal with Proactive. This is Snoop Dogg.
Now, I had to refilm this section because I had some corrections to make and some facts to clear up, because what I'm about to tell you is breaking news. Now, this is the final chapter in the Snoop saga, and what fills the 4th secret category of my spreadsheet, and what I deem my most interesting discovery: fake features. And I'm not talking Snoop featuring Kurt Cobain. That's a different situation. What I mean by a fake feature is when Snoop's vocals are taken from somewhere, placed onto a song it wasn't intended for, and passed off as a real collab. In reality, Snoop and that artist who copy and paste the verse would never work together. There's all sorts of songs you could write off as fakes, such as tracks with horrible tempo, bad production, bad mixing, fake Vivo accounts associated, they're part of dicey compilations, they have awful cover art, they have Discogs warnings or identical search results. Other fake red flags are anytime Snoop's featured on those 2000 era mixtape CDs, or when he's featured on what I like to call clickbait ghost verses, where he's listed as a feature but you never really hear him. Dr. Dre fake detox songs from his infamously canceled album. There's dead artist mashups. Honestly, any DJ Woo Kid project. Snoop impersonations. Meme remixes. I mean, I could go on. But I'm not really in a position to call those out as fake. I mean, I just don't have time to dig deep into each song and determine legitimacy. I mean, I wasn't in the studio, so how can I say? I just really base my opinion off of those interesting associated music videos. These questionable artists get creative on how to represent Snoop in these music videos because he's obviously not going to show up for the shoot, so they have to find some way to make him appear present, most often using old music video snippets. Some really common sneaky fakes that I came across a lot was when an artist will snag a sample from a well-known Snoop song, alter the title, add their name, add their verse, and call it their own song. I mean, Siri told me the origins of the actual song, but I ran into quite a few of those. It was so exhausting deciding whether a song was real or not. It added this whole difficulty element to this video I was not expecting. With those fake songs I talked about, they're interesting and all, but what I'm really here to talk about is a little controversial. What I'm referring to is when I found over 100% confirmed fakes. The discovery started early when I kept hearing these verses over and over again to the point where it wasn't a coincidence and it was getting fishy to where I thought I was going to cover something huge here. It started when I heard 5 Snoop verses that were the same, then 10, then 40, and now currently over 80 songs that are confirmed fake. They're broken down between 2 verses, 49 songs containing verse 1, and 32 songs containing verse 2, totaling 81 faked collaborations. What I mean is when you listen to the 81 songs I've compiled and it comes time for Snoop to spit a few bars, his feature is going to be identical to either verse 1 or verse 2 every time. My mind started to race on whether is Snoop giving over 80 artists the same identical verses, or are these small artists finding this royalty-free bootleg Snoop verse somewhere? I can't obviously play them on YouTube, but if you don't believe me or want to hear them for yourself, I've compiled all the ones on Spotify into a playlist in the description below. Most are on Spotify, some aren't, some get removed. They're all on the spreadsheet though. I mean, how intriguing is it that over 80 songs match the 2 verses? It's either these artists are finding this verse online, which I can't, or Snoop is lazy and sends out a bunch of verses in hopes that they don't find out others exist. Once I committed myself to the truth, I made a list of all of them and looked for trends. The biggest one being usually the song's title is based off of Snoop's words, or they honestly base the whole concept of the song around what he says. It is so cringe on some of these tracks because these artists interact with the Snoop feature in a call and response kind of way, acting like they're sharing a studio with him or they know him on a first name basis. The whole thing just reminds me of this SoundCloud Mad Libs fill in your own verse situation I found.
SoundCloud, Big Snoop Dogg, yeah. What you gonna put on this, huh? You gonna sing, you gonna rap?
It also reminds me of a while ago when the game got caught using the same freestyle for like 4 years. Also reminds me of when I used to document Travis Scott and J. Cole features. I mean, I'd find fakes all the time, but they got removed. The first sign of hope was when I found a track named Acapella Verse that contained a large portion of the Snoop feature from verse 1, but it wasn't complete, so I knew it couldn't be the source of origin. My next discovery, which was honestly a curveball, which was when Snoop's official YouTube page appeared to be promoting these fake songs, which made me flip my perspective until I read the description and saw auto-generated by YouTube, which is when YouTube sees a song on the site or online and doesn't have a video for it, they just make one automatically, so it kind of debunked that theory. That doesn't change the fact that these fakes are hiding in plain sight. I mean, it seems like no one on the internet has noticed it besides the slight nod on a YouTube comment I saw. I mean, how can 80 plus artists find these verses and not me? But then my question was sorta answered. One day I saw this upcoming song by this super small rapper named Zero Hyru featuring Snoop, and I suspected it was a fake, so when it came out, I listened to it, and I was right, it was from verse 1. So I got in contact with him and asked him about the feature, and what he told me blew my mind. He told me about his A&R manager, former battle rapper Matthew Markoff, aka M80, who currently works behind the scenes in the music industry, handing out verses that he owns the license to, primarily to smaller artists. Zero proved to me that Matt knew Snoop, so I contacted Matt, acting like I wanted a feature of my own, and he told me I could purchase a verse from Snoop, even sending me a pricing guide with Snoop being in the top bracket. I inquired whether the verse would be unique to my song, and he was honest and said no. He said it was going to be $2,000 or best offer, or $35,000 for an exclusive. That, combined with the fact Zero thinks Snoop receives royalties, pretty much answered my questions. That was until I went back to the verses for another look. The mystery gets more interesting when you try to pull out the only extractable, researchable evidence of the mention of Uncle Snoop's Army in verse 1 and the mention of DJ Fingers in verse 2. Uncle Snoop's Army had potential. It seems to be a recruitment site where small artists come together and collaborate. Potential connection, but it was when I contacted DJ Fingers is when I got some real useful insight. Once he answered my DM, I sent him some info and explained the situation. He then showed me the original song where the second verse is from. He said he saw Snoop say the lines and he did the beat, but he didn't know why the verse is so commonly used. Interestingly enough, after we talked about this, he uploaded this video to Instagram where he alludes to me informing him about this feature situation.
I just want to say thank you. Been on a bunch of my records due to other features, other people getting you on there, but then
I also asked DJ Fingers, and he had no clue who M80 was. Matthew Markoff? Little sus, but anyway, I feel satisfied talking to those two guys connected with the verse. Maybe Matthew owns the rights to the first verse, and maybe someone owns the rights to the second verse. I'll let the mystery rest for now. Maybe someone can take this further. I'd love to know more. Just know these aren't the only faked verses I heard. There's a couple that I heard time and time again, but not nearly as common as these. Just know I probably missed some fakes. I can't call out every single one. Just know when it comes to Snoop, dicey. Love him? Low dicey. One last thing, late discovery, but look at this bizarre contest I ran into where Snoop was hosting a competition where you could potentially win a feature with him, and you send your verse into a judge panel of Corrupt, The Dog Pound, Mr. Fab, and others, and they'll see if you're worthy. And one of the judges was M80, the A&R manager I previously mentioned. Not only do you win a feature with Snoop, you win a home studio makeover, free beats for life, cash, and more. On surface level, it looks dicey. I mean, it's probably real, but look at this page. Anyway, I had to show you. That about does it for my coverage on Snoop's lengthy feature catalog. Just know I put that plus sign after the 1,200 features to keep the number open-ended, because Snoop is still an active featuring artist, so any future releases will be added to the spreadsheet to keep it timeless, even with song removals on certain platforms. Just know I would love for anyone to go through my findings with a fine-tooth comb and call out any potential loose calls or not real features, or any features I missed that need to be added. I mean, comment them below. I want to be the go-to source. I believe this is never before done challenge. I want to be the Snoop database in a sense. With that being said, let's see how many of those fake features we can find. You know, that identical Snoop verse I heard over 80 times? There's gotta be more. They're hard to uncover, but I want to see if we can compile them all. I want my viewers to be like a giant research team so they can do a deeper dive than I could individually. I'm thinking with this spreadsheet I made, if we can get it more refined and more professional, we could potentially prove Snoop to be a world record holder, beating Cocaine. He has a better documented list, but I can roughly say Snoop's number is around 1,200 to 1,300 features, greatly surpassing Cocaine. So let's get it official, add some legitimacy, and get those Guinness vibes. Just know my last 6 to 8 months have been all Snoop all day. I mean, the research for this video and compiling all the information was truly insane. I had to go all out because I feel like this topic needs discussed more. I at least wanted to start the conversation. At the end of the day, I don't want to bash these small artists discussed in the video that Snoop's worked with that are way less popular and use him for his namesake, because I'm honestly doing the same thing. I'm using Snoop for his name, and it really comes full circle in a sense. But I just respect their hard work and grind, and they're not that much different from me, honestly. With that, you also gotta respect Snoop. I mean, it's beyond impressive what he's accomplished over the years. It's questionable motives, but impressive nonetheless. I mean, the numbers don't lie. He's a true legend. You know, I really wanted to purchase a Snoop Dogg cameo for this video. I was gonna save up the 800 Bonnaroos, but I ain't doing it. That's way too expensive, but we'll see what I can do. I can maybe pull some strings. Also, I have to mention how Snoop was literally featured in my last 2 videos, and that wasn't even planned. I didn't do it on purpose. I just thought it was interesting nonetheless. With that being said, this whole thing was a worthwhile journey that I don't honestly recommend, but I did learn a lot, and I hope you enjoyed. But before you go, let me leave you with this. While I enjoy a little Cali Red, Spotify. Napster is the new go-to.
Resume, document, G-file. Recollect, reflect. Now let me break it down. Take it out.
Think about the world right now. Bill Cosby's in jail, and Snoop Dogg's the #1 pitchman in America. Oh man, I will buy anything Snoop Dogg sells. Okay, I just bought a Snoop Dogg quilt. I got some gangster sleep, some OG sleep. If you don't have a Snoop Dogg quilt, you are sleeping like a bitch.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's a straight bitch.